Too late.
The podcast
That's okay.
will start with wait.
I can trim the beginning of it on YouTube. That's fine.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Secular Jihadists podcast. I'm your host, kinda tired, Faisal Saeed Al-Mutar. And with us, we have the usual suspects of the show. We have Yasmin Muhammad, the Confessions of an Ex-Muslim. Hello, Yasmin.
Hi, Faisal.
You are giving a speech in Ohio sometime soon, right?
That is correct. Yeah, in Akron, Ohio. It's actually Cuyahoga Falls on Saturday.
I like it.
Great. And with us also we have Armin Navabi,
Hello.
the founder of Atheist Republic, and who got in trouble for in Malaysia. So probably Armin should not visit Malaysia anytime soon, right?
Yeah, I've been already there twice, so that's fine.
Yeah, I think. So you've already seen Kuala Lumpur and the Twin Towers and all of these stuff, right?
Yeah. Actually should post my pictures out there.
So just
yes, just like say revenge
for
porn.
the audience. He's talking about the Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Right.
Not the in case.
Yes. Well,
yeah,
in case the Americans think that we're always talking about them.
In case, you woke up from a coma.
Yeah, these are the Twin Towers that Armin's cousin blew up. These are different. They're different Twin Towers.
Different ones, yeah.
So, and with us we have Ali Rizvi, the author of The Atheist Muslim, and he is he's a contributor to the Huffington Post, writes article here and there, and he's on Twitter, quite active. And he speaks English. He speaks English.
I speak sometimes.
And our guest today is Omar from Egypt. من مصر الدنيا.
مصر الدنيا. ازيكم يا جماعة? Hello guys.
Egypt is
mother of the world.
place. I have many friends from there. There is a growing movement of free thinkers, and I think that Omar has a perspective that I think many of us would like to hear, and hopefully our audience. So Omar, tell us more about yourself.
Thank you guys so much for the opportunity, first of all. And second of all, yes, first disclaimer, since it's going to a Western audience, I'm just gonna I'm talking only for myself as an individual, not talking on behalf of Egyptians, not talking on behalf of atheists in Egypt, not talking on behalf of brown people, not talking on behalf of everybody.
I thought you won the election. I thought you won the election over the Brotherhood.
Yes,
Omar is only speaking for himself.
I'm only speaking for myself.
We have a big Egyptian audience.
That's good, because I'm speaking for all of you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes, I'm gonna start by just explaining that there's a lot of atheists over here, but most of them are in the closet. That's why you wouldn't hear much from the atheists in Cairo, and between atheist communities over here, there's the majority thinking it's better to be in the closet and just live our lives in safety, and there's a minority that's out. I'm basically not in either camp anyways. I'm just out here because I was already outed on Facebook, so it doesn't matter anymore. And all the atheists you guys heard about from Egypt, either Ahmed Haqqan, Sharif Gaber, Ismail, whatever who is, it's basically from Alexandria.
How about Hamid Abdul Samad?
He's also not, but Hamid is a totally different. There's
Germany.
There's three different atheist communities. Both two communities.
I just have one question before you go ahead.
Sure.
If you live in the closet, do you have to pay taxes or?
Yeah, trust me. Speaking of in the closet, one time.
Yeah.
Faisal, one time an atheist girl I know was literally hiding in the closet in my apartment. Literally in the closet for the sake of atheism.
Oh wow.
It's that bad. I have atheist friends who would freaked out half an hour ago or an hour ago because what I'm doing, and even some are right here and they will never appear on camera, and you're crazy, Omar, for what you're doing. Of course, most people are against the idea of getting out in the first place, and no one, because what they suffered, because the death threats, because of everything, have the incentive to be like activist atheist or anything. And
sorry, Omar. Like, I just wanted to just expand on that a little bit. So, what are the consequences? So, right now you're out. These other people, most of them don't want to come out.
The consequences is lists made by Islamists in Egypt, mostly Salafis, or back in like 2012, the Muslim Brotherhood. That's basically death threats in lists. My name was in list, but I'm not afraid anymore because most of those are in jail right now. So there is an actual threat from getting out, but the misunderstanding about Egypt is the threat is not about atheism specifically, is not coming from the government. It's coming from Muslims. I might die in the next few years. There's a 90% chance that I will be dead on the hands of a Muslim, but I'm not going to prison. I'm not going to Torah because I'm an atheist. That's like
it's kind of like in Bangladesh. Like Bangladesh, officially, they don't really kill those bloggers. In fact, when they put them in jail, they're actually protected. But what they do is they just throw them to the mob because they know that. Okay,
the mob mentality is what's dangerous. Okay, let me explain this.
Are you not scared?
No, I'm done with being scared like years ago. It's just live your life and know that there's a chance that they might kill you. I'm not gonna be like, I'm against playing the victim mentality because the victim mentality makes you a victim even more.
But you are okay. But if anybody gets claimed to be a victim,
that's a good quote, by the way. That's a good quote for an Egyptian. You're pretty smart.
I like that.
But
oh, let's start with the guys with Allah Akbar on
Bring it, Faisal. You're outnumbered here.
Good one.
But I want to point out that I don't agree with it because I don't agree with it.
And they run away.
There are victims that claim to be victims and aren't victims, but when somebody is actually a victim, we have to admit that you are an actual victim.
I'm admitting the danger. I'm not playing as a victim. Listen,
there's a big difference.
There's such a thing as when you act normally, as if everything is normal. Some Muslims that might attack you actually like get confused or scared because you gotta have a connection or something. How the hell is he saying this out loud in the middle of the street? And they actually don't attack right away. But the second you show a slight weakness and run away or anything, that's when they like, let's kill this guy.
What do you say to people that this is not a good idea? You shouldn't be risking your life.
It's not a good idea. I was out because of circumstances I won't get in right now. It's not a good idea to be out as a Muslim, as an atheist in any place in the Middle East, basically. I'm against people getting out for their own safety.
Faisal, Armin, he said he was outed on Facebook. That's why he's out now. Somebody outed him.
Yeah, it's more complicated than that, of course, and it's a long story, but here's my point. My point is the amount of people in the closet are getting high to a point that it's insane not to know each other. Meaning, let's say, for example, I was at work 2 years ago in the middle of a construction site, and of course they know I'm an atheist, either death threats or beating me up and blah, blah, blah. I was fired. Basic idea you know about. But here's the thing. In the middle of the construction site, in my office, I had an argument with two guys who were totally attacking me 100%, saying your basic stuff, then where did the universe come from, blah, 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 the theological arguments you all heard a million times. After that fight, each of them came to me telling me, listen, I'm an atheist too.
Wow.
So there was an actual room in Giza where 3 atheists were fighting over Islam. That's insane.
Wow.
So the amount of like people who have to even threaten atheists from the closet have gone up. If you know what I mean, it's an actual loop. It might be complicated, but at some point it has to crack. And I'm pro cracking, but against asking anyone to be out. No, not even outing. Outing is out of the question. I will be hiding the secrets of people I know who are atheists who even in the media right now calling for Islam. Trust me, I know people in Azhar who are atheists.
But you're also against people coming out as atheists. But what if somebody says like, I don't care? But what if somebody says I don't mind the risk? I'm tired of being. What do you say to somebody that says I'm tired of hiding?
That's people like me, and there is a difference because some male men who have been independent, who's depending on themselves with their own job, their own apartment, with their own name, have actually a backup plan to be run to and be safe. People with their families and women across the board, even if you're independent, it's a totally different thing. There's a thing that when a woman is called out for being an atheist, the backlash against her is multiplied 1,000,000 times. Like, there's no such thing as an outed female without accusations of, I guess, any sexual insult you can.
Yeah, because it's associated with morality, right? Like if she's lost her religion, then she doesn't have morality. That means that she wouldn't do anything. Yeah, that's
Sharmota.
That earns the explicit rating on iTunes.
So I'm already like I admit being like in a I don't want to use the word privilege because of liberals, but anyway, I'm admitting that I'm in a lucky position where I can, but a lot of people are not in this position. Also, I'm not saying that.
What position? The missionary position?
the position of being having a plan vessel. 69. Okay.
Oh my God, this is what happens when you get in a podcast with all these boys. Okay, I have a question for you. Omar, you started to say something about the difference between atheists in Cairo and you were talking about the two different kinds of atheists, and I interrupted
you. The majority of the other kind is in Alexandria, and the majority is here. But I am in between those two communities. There's a community in Cairo that's extremely against getting out and just take care of ourselves, be our own. They live close to each other. They have their own compounds. There is a level of high-class atheists which have like security guards. There's people who have already made a country inside of a country and living their lives 100%, and we have nothing to do with anything out of here. There's a level of like, and I'm against some of the positions, by the way, but there's a level of bourgeoisie, high-class atheists in Egypt who have nothing to do with activism and against this. So I can tell you stories about like atheist or science, even lectures and events in Cairo, and you wouldn't believe it. Like there's in AUC campus, the American college, there's an event. Let's say
AUC, right? American University of Cairo.
Yeah. Let's say about the origin of life. Is it abiogenesis or panspermia? Let's argue about that. You think that there is. Okay, in Cairo, there is already admitting evolution, saying the origin of life is either chemical or from aliens or whatever it is. You would think that this is like something that wouldn't be accepted. But in their community, in their lectures, in their, let's say, high-class colleges, it's totally fine. They're totally isolated. These people want closed community and against getting out. And let's say, I said a few minutes ago, I'm against them in some positions. The way I'm against them is that they totally gave up on the rest of Egypt. They totally gave up on helping anyone else. The amount that they suffered to get to that position convinced them in a weird way that, okay, fuck those people, we're not even gonna try to help. Like,
this sounds like liberals, sounds a little bit like liberals in the West.
Kind of, but it's totally different because these guys hate liberals the most. Trust me. It's not. They're not the elite liberals. They're the no, fuck anyone else. It's all for ourselves. We're not even gonna play moral superiority over anyone. We're not even trying to be moral. Yeah, I mean, okay, this might be confusing, so I'm gonna have like an example. Okay, so I met this awesome, intelligent Egyptian girl. She's a scientist. She's into evolutionary biology. She's like on a level of evolutionary psychology, like Gad said. She's doing research. I'm gonna like compliment her to the end. I met her. I wanted her to explain to me something about RNA and DNA. And at the end of conversation, I told her, okay, why don't you make in Arabic this video so that people would, like, you can teach people about this in Arabic, make a YouTube channel. So after I complimented her and being like, and she's beautiful, and I'm gonna say good things about her, her reply was, why would I do anything for this animal scum? Well, okay, like, fuck you, come on, why is this mentality? There's a level of people who gave up on the rest of Egypt, definitely here, I'm 100% admitting it, and I'm against that. On the other side, let's say Alexandrian side, even though it's not totally from Alexandria, people are out, they're courageous, but they're not intellectuals, to be honest. Like, when I'm with my, let's say, intellectual friends, they're all criticizing, even Ahmed Har'an, even Sharif Gaber, they're criticizing these guys for answering the wrong question on TV. But when they're criticizing, come on, guys, like, they have the courage to be on TV. Why the hell are you criticizing them? You're sitting on your asses, you're not doing anything, and you're criticizing them. That's one point. But the other point is, if Ahmed Har'an got asked on TV, where did the planets come from? He will say, no one knows. Science doesn't know. What the fuck, Ahmed Har'an? Science knows.
So what is this? Sorry, just for the people who are not familiar, you're talking about like there's Cairo, and there's the group of atheists in Cairo, and there's a group of people in Alexandria. So what is the difference? So you said that people in Alexandria are
the difference is
out.
close. The difference is close.
But
yeah,
are they out
difference
more
is close.
because they're accepted?
The more courageous kind comes from lower class and ex-Salafis. They're usually studied Islam for their entire lives, and they're out, they're more courageous. The other kind is high class, and they studied something else, and by studying something else, they left religion, and they're more like, as I said, bourgeoisie is we're all for ourselves, and there's pros and cons to everything. Like, I try to jiggle in between the two by, like, I wouldn't be the one, like, I'm not saying I'm a courageous like the Alexandrians or anything. I would never be on TV talking in Arabic. I'm just talking with you guys in English. That's totally different. But by going to the Alexandrians that get on TV and explaining science, that's one, so that they would know how to answer questions and state logical fallacies on TV.
So the two groups need to work together, basically.
The group, the two groups need to grow. And if I've been too rough on the high-class Cairo group, they're justified because some of them have suffered through, you wouldn't believe. So they have a, like what? Like getting beaten up. Some women I know have been attacked sexually for being atheists. And they think of these like lower class Muslims, and we need to get away from them, not to help them. And by the way, guys, I've been into this road to explaining atheists in Cairo, but I'm 100% against the idea of there is no chance for these Muslims to get out of religion. I am 100% against that.
Me too. Totally agree.
Anyone saying like we have to like Islamic reform, whatever, let's make them less violent, is doing let's say they're doing
you just triggered Armin.
Yeah. He got literally triggered just now.
Triggered is triggered.
100%.
No, I'm happy. What are you guys talking about? Is it triggered?
Oh,
we're just kidding.
Then you
When he said
misunderstood
Islamic
him.
reform, then I was like, okay.
No, it's good. They're playing in a softer bigotry of low expectations.
No, he's saying what I'm saying, yes.
Yeah. Me and Armin are on the same side. Ever since the atheist republic.
Yeah, guys. You guys thought you had.
You and me.
He's basically saying that this expectation that these people are too dumb to be atheists is a lower expectation. To just give them reform is basically we're expecting too little from them. They are ready.
Okay.
They are ready for atheism.
And
that's what he's saying.
I have criticism against you guys in this because when you're fighting about Islamic reform, you're fighting saying, will it work or not? The idea is not is it work or not. My position is I am anti-Islamic reform. I have no need.
Yes.
I have no need
made
to
Armin
put.
very happy. Actually,
I have no
was
need to
happy
put
with
It's the
that.
other way around. We misunderstood.
I like. Is there trigger? Does triggered mean? There's another
Good
meaning
thing
for
or a bad
trigger.
thing?
It's a happy trigger. Like what do you guys?
It was like the trigger of the
Someone like
prostate.
me.
Like,
Armin, you and
basically,
me, brother.
you're saying like, oh, what works, what doesn't work. What about asking what's true?
What's
Right?
true? That was exactly my second sentence. Exactly. I'm not gonna lose.
I am too tired.
Islamic reform.
So
I'm
now
too tired.
triggered Faisal.
I'm too tired. I'm too tired to argue with you guys. But go ahead.
We love you, Faisal.
But we do
the
agree
idea-
with you in general, Ahmad. We do all agree with you that they're obviously we wouldn't even be doing
No, I
this
don't.
podcast if we felt like there was no hope. And I was a Salafi married to an Al Qaeda agent. If there's hope for me, there's hope for anybody, right?
Since Faisal is too tired, I'll play the devil's advocate.
No,
right?
no. It's okay. Let's all agree.
No, I don't need Persians to speak for me.
Oh.
We're right now. We're speaking for your entire country.
By the way,
That's
Armin,
okay.
totally different point. Speaking of Persians and Iranians.
Persians
no, I
yeah,
mean-
Iraq is Persian now.
Armin.
It's crazy.
So your argument, what you're saying is that what is important is true, then it
It
is.
was true, yes, and science. I'm not gonna lose any effort in
That
saying,
was working.
or propagating. I'm not gonna lose any effort in propagating
But
a
let
lesser violent version of Islam because I don't care. I have a lot of problems against Islamic reform other than that. When you say Islamic reform, you're lowering the violence and you're totally sacrificing women. Sexism in Islam will never change.
Yes.
Violence in Islam might change. Like you're 100% sacrificing women because there can be an Islamic society that is not violent, that is not jihadi, and the women in that community are fucked.
Yes.
Not
yes.
gonna argue with that.
And the gays and everybody else, basically, as long as you're not harming the West, you could just.
The whole Islamic reform thing is bullshit because it's about getting Islam not to be violent. But that's totally not my goal. My goal is science and facts and
but
human rights.
again, but it's the goals of other people who probably think in a way that says, you know what, there are 10,000 people getting killed today by ISIS. I want less people killed by ISIS. I mean,
I
there
want
is
less
immediate.
people killed too, and I
So with those people,
to atheism.
Let's see what Omar's response is.
I want less people killed by ISIS too, and I've converted 3 ISIS members in Sinai from Ansar Beit al-Maqdis to atheism by actually converting them. Like that's the whole idea.
Yes!
You think the whole thing is about like talking to listen guys, the whole problem is there is no such thing as a basic long form argument about evolution, about logical fallacies, about why the existence of God in Arabic to begin with. The only channel is أنا أصدق العلم, I believe in science in YouTube, and that's about it. Every single Muslim who actually agreed to talk with me have turned into an atheist.
Yes.
But the ones that will
But-
never change their mind, I'm saying, because they might turn violent the second I bring up atheism. That's a totally different point, and I've already thrown the root of critical thinking in his mind, and he will change to become an atheist 3-4 years from now. That's about it.
One second. Like I'm very appreciative of that. That's amazing for sure. But isn't that a false positive? I mean, how about those who? Because I mean, I work in counter extremism. I work with many organizations that does de-radicalization work, sometimes called CVE, counter violent extremism, etc. I mean, it is many of it is actually sales and marketing. It's like you're trying to persuade people on a different non-violent. So let's say, I mean, you got lucky. You got lucky, for example, that the guy, when you talk to him, that you talked to him about atheism, he didn't take the sword that cut off your head. But
I never started by atheism. You have to start by slight science and then have a certain way. But I need to clarify my position.
Okay. After you clarify your position, can we just move on from reform, because we've done this, we've beaten this horse to death. We talk about reform with every single guest that comes on.
I will clarify my position one last time.
Okay.
What Faisal is doing in counterterrorism is good. What Majid Nawaz is doing in Quilliam is good. Whatever Imam Tawhidi, whatever you tell me a name, I will say they're overall doing good. I'm saying I am not with this effort. I will never lose any ounce of my energy in producing another false version of a religion that doesn't exist and that's less violent. Let's assume there's a religion that's 100% moral and good. I will still be against it because it's not factual. The idea about creating a religion.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm kind of yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna change the topic.
Yeah, please.
So go ahead, say the.
Well, I actually wanted to. This was gonna change the topic. I was gonna get back to what you were saying about the whole science thing, and this is one of the things I have the same. And Armin and I have talked about this a lot. We talked about it at the the Imagine conference, not this one, but the one last year too. We had a whole discussion about this. Is the importance of reform, and the reason I personally don't do it, and a lot of us could, is for the same reason that you're saying, that for me the main problem isn't even the violence, it isn't even the terrorism, it isn't everything. I mean, the reason I came into this is I'm not from an ex-Salafist background, but I actually really care. I have a background in science, I have a background in medicine, so I really care
and I really care about science, and
that's what I care about. And that's why I think that it's, people talk about, you can't talk about jihad unless you talk about Islam, and that's true, but you also can't talk about Islam until you talk about faith in general, believing things without evidence. So sometimes, when I talk about all religions in general, and then Islam specifically as being uniquely dangerous, and people are like, well, why are you talking about the other religions? People aren't chopping off heads. I'm like, yes, but if you train them to think that way, they can potentially come to that. That's what the problem.
I can sense Yas wants us to move the topic.
Yeah, I really do, because we had a podcast with reform with us together. We had another one with Lalo.
Yes, let's move.
We've done it to death. So now that we have an Egyptian guest, can we talk about the Arab Spring? Can you tell us about that?
And your views.
Where do I even start? The only way to start is basically from the very beginning. So in June 2010, Khaled Said, an Egyptian Alexandrian, was caught by police and killed for basically no reason. Let's not get into that. And a page was created named Kullina Khaled Said, we're all Khaled Said, to protest against the police on their anniversary, just to piss them off as much as possible. And before that, by 2 weeks, Abu al-Azizi in Tunisia burned himself. And the Arab Spring started. So what started as a protest against the police gave us hope that we can get rid of Mubarak, maybe. It's possible. So the 25th of January 2011, that was the day about the protest against the police. Tahrir Square, a lot of people were there. The chants started going against Mubarak, against the entire regime. الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام. And suddenly, 2 days later, in what's called Jum'at al-Ghadab, on Friday, the entire state security police, which is controlling Egypt, which I really need to explain the different Egyptian institutions before I talk about this, but let's just move on, fell because of all the violence, and another thing started appearing, which is the Muslim Brotherhood started supporting us in the revolution. That was a major point where everyone was, okay, they're actually doing good stuff against dictatorship and police state and everything. Let's just leave them there for a while. Maybe everything will be fine later. So there was a huge, like an entire 2 months, everyone was so happy because of course, in March, Omar Suleiman, which was the vice president of Mubarak, came out and said Mubarak will stand down. And on that day, by the way, Christine Amanpour made an interview with Omar Salman, that same guy. She asked him about democracy. What do you think about democracy and what do you want? And he has this famous quote about the Egyptian people are not ready for democracy. That was a quote that is used about him. And when she pushed him, when Christine pushed him even more, he told her if we let them go for democracy, they will choose the Muslim Brotherhood. Egypt will fail, and they will come running to us again afterwards, which is basically the prophecy that happened exactly over the like the police state and everything, but those people on top of the either state security, which is Amn al-Dawla, or at the top of Mukhabarat, which is to the army, they really know the Egyptian people and what they're talking about. So 1 year later, there was an elections for Majlis Sha'ab Parliament, and the following there was a presidential election. During that year, the Muslim Brotherhood did things that you wouldn't fucking believe. First of all, they had like millions of dollars from Qatar, and I will get to Qatar later. Why is Qatar doing this in the first place? Because Qatar is not doing this for Islamic reasons. I'm not even convinced of that. And they went to the lower class of Egypt, giving them everything they wanted from food, electricity, whatever, just buying their votes. We call it Zayt Wasukar. It's a list that is like, what everybody, you're poor, what do you need to vote for the Muslim Brotherhood? They got all the money from Qatar, they spent all that money on the lower class, which is the majority of Egypt, and they started getting a following. Now, on the other side, the guy against Morsi, who was in the repeat of the election, was Ahmed Shafiq, which is a part of the Mubarak regime that all the people who died in 25th of January, the first revolution, was trying to get rid of in the first place. So you had secularists forced to vote for the Muslim Brotherhood just to get rid of the Mubarak regime. It's a semi like Hillary Trump vote. Like, I hate Hillary so much, I don't believe in Trump, but I just have to vote Trump because I hate Hillary. That was kind of what we've been through. Both candidates are horrible, but we called it Nasr Lamuna. I don't know what's that even in English. And
can you repeat? Can you repeat? Maybe I can translate.
What?
Can you repeat? Maybe I can translate. Like what you were saying.
هعصر ليمونة على نفسي علشان اجي على نفسي وارشح.
Oh, like you're putting a pressure on yourself, so you can like.
But
it's
like
like
nothing to do with lemons.
yeah. It's like you have to put it like you're kind of like self. It's like it's called hate fucking. It's like hate fucking.
Yeah,
you're
kind of like we have to hate.
Yeah. It's like you. It's not like you. Rock in a hard place could be like you are forcing yourself to vote for someone just because the other side is extremely terrible. Like kind
Welcome
of.
to America 2016.
Strategic voting.
Strategic voting. And by the way, just to show you how this is insane, there was, remember when I said there is 3 atheist communities, not just 2, and I explained 2. The third part is that like old guard atheist from the Naguib Mahfouz 60s days. If you don't know, Naguib Mahfouz is a famous Egyptian atheist who won Nobel Prize for lecture, but no one will ever talk about him because he's an atheist. These guys actually voted Muslim Brotherhood for reasons you wouldn't fucking believe. They want, okay, these guys are pragmatists and insane, but bear with me. They want the Islamic experiment to be actually done just to get rid of it once and for all. The idea of Islam.
That's the Armin strategy.
We talked about this.
That's my dad's strategy. Please don't put this on me.
No. It's not
your dad. Your generation, the generation of your dad, wants this to be fucking done. The whole slogan of the Muslim Brotherhood was Islam هو الحل. Islam is the solution. and they've been doing this, and they've been in prison
So they want
for
people
all their
to
life.
suffer so that they know how shitty the situation is. That's what they
Yes,
want.
no one ever knew how shitty the situation is, and whenever we use Iran as an example, they say because it's Shia. If only it was Sunni Islam, it would be everything is fine.
different. It would be perfect.
This is why I was advocating for immigration to the West, because nobody's going to take Islam seriously as evil.
Yeah, no, let's not talk about that anymore. Let's pretend that never happened.
Armin, that is
Omar, are you saying that because what we talked about in the past on one of these episodes was that you have a government, sort of a secular or not very Islamic government, and the only opposition that really builds up against it is the Islamist opposition. So once this dictator comes down, you let the Islamists come in and you let them run their course and get rid of it? Is that what you're saying?
The opposition is only Islamist by design. Any dictator regime makes the opposition only Islamists for the people to support him because they don't want Islamists. The opposition is totally different tribes. We have communists over here, trust me. But
Iran has been under Islam for 30 freaking years. So
don't Islamists provide social services and things like that and get people on their side as well?
They do, under the one option that they're providing it for good old Muslims who are make them more religious. Like you won't see the Muslim Brotherhood going to like Christian Coptics and giving them food.
Yeah, it's like missionary.
Sometimes, and sometimes it's with an I can't explain it in English. Jesus. Sometimes you have to like
manscape,
go to that mosque and even learn Quran and so that we would help you. Like only if you come and do this, and of course Egypt is filled with poor people, they will do this. So it's not really charity work, it's like more propaganda for the Muslim Brotherhood.
Forced dawah or something,
Yeah, something like that. And the Muslim Brotherhood.
Why did they vote, these atheists, scientists and everything, why did they vote for the Muslim Brotherhood? Can you explain that again? Because I think
because they want the Muslim Brotherhood to fail, because they know they were gonna fail.
They're gonna fail. Okay, that's okay. So
that's a bad plan.
Okay. It's a
I know. I just have to.
It's an insane plan. But I know guys. On that day, who were voting Morsi, which is the Muslim Brotherhood candidate, who were gonna protest Morsi the next day.
They planned it.
But the Brotherhood is too organized for them to just remove it right after they're in power. They had funding.
We already removed it. The Muslim Brotherhood does not exist in Egypt.
Yeah, but
no, the Muslim Brotherhood is so powerful and organized in London, Australia, Canada, but it's not in Egypt.
They removed it, but
all Muslim Brotherhood members in Egypt are in Torah prison right now. They basically, you can't be a Muslim Brotherhood member. It's a banned terrorist organization.
So between these three, who's the worst? Mubarak, Morsi, and Sisi.
Morsi.
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's Mubarak.
Because he's the Muslim Brotherhood. He's the Islamist. Hold on. Okay.
But I thought
Wait, please. Ahmad, I think it's very important now for you to clarify about Muslim Brotherhood. People think there's some moderates. They're like there's some democratically voted in moderate group. Please explain.
I thought they were
Please explain that. I have friends who died from the Muslim Brotherhood. You're insane. Okay.
There was an argument.
Aren't they trans rights group? They support
there's an argument here in the United States about whether they should be considered.
They're the grandfathers of Al Qaeda. They're the grandfathers. They're the grandfathers of all of the terrorist organizations.
Yeah, the Milestones book was written by them, which is basically the guidebook to all things terrorist.
Yeah.
There was a huge argument here because Obama, of course, supported the Brotherhood and Trump is against the Brotherhood. So therefore, if you are against the Brotherhood, also that means you love Trump, right? Because that's how things work in America. So
in that case, actually, a majority of Egyptians love Trump and love the right wing of America because they are against the Muslim Brotherhood, and Obama fucked us over.
Yeah. So I have a question. You have
on the 9th of November, I know a lot of guys who were cheering, loving just to see Hillary Clinton lose.
On the left over here, generally they say they're all about, pro-democratic, and they get criticized. One of the things they get the most criticized for, even by Muslims in the Muslim world, is that the U.S. is all about democracy and freedom at home, but then overseas they prop up all these dictatorships, right? So Mubarak is his dictatorship. He comes down, then you have an election, and then you have a democratically elected party that comes to power, Muslim Brotherhood.
So wasn't Hitler also democratically elected?
No, I know that, yes, but I'm trying to say, I'm trying to talk. I'm not defending anybody who supports the Brotherhood. I'm just I'm asking actually Omar a question. So the problem is now there's a conundrum. They're like, okay, so what we want to do is we want to support democracy in these Middle Eastern countries, but if we supported democracy in Saudi Arabia, I lived in Saudi Arabia, I know bin Laden would be elected president if it was at the time. If there was an election, I know what the people there are like. So so what do? You have these dictatorships that are sort of relatively more pro-Western, and you can influence them. And then when you have these democratically elected things, the Muslim Brotherhood comes in. So how do they stand for democracy? How does the U.S. or how do liberal presidents or even Republican presidents?
I don't want the U.S. to stand for democracy. I don't want the U.S. anywhere near here.
Yes, Morsi, no.
Disengagement.
Shut up your mouth, Obama. Egyptians were against it.
Everyone made fun of that woman, and I agree with that woman 100%, even though her English is fucking terrible.
Because there is a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like if they go in, like they go into.
No, there's not a damned if you do. We're not even we don't care about what America thinks. Seriously.
Stop defending Obama, Ali. Stop defending Obama.
Faisal, I'm not defending. Oh God. Okay. What I'm saying is that there is a dilemma. I grew up with Muslims all around me in Saudi Arabia and in Pakistan, just talking about how the U.S. they always talk about democracy, but they don't support democracy in our countries. They support Ziaul Haq in Pakistan.
I don't support democracy.
No? So
I don't support democracy. I just said it.
That's fine.
I have no love for.
Do you support circumcision?
No. My question is that when you have people who say that in the Middle East, and I've heard that from so many people, including conservative Muslims, liberal Muslims, everything, that the U.S. says one thing for themselves, the democracy, but over there they're hypocrites when it comes to other countries. But now, when you do support democracy,
you wouldn't like my answer at all.
Yeah, Faisal, you're simplifying it because
no, it's not even that. Ali, I agree with them. American foreign policies are hypocrites, and they say democracy and they're supporting dictators. That's actually factually correct. What? How do you reply to someone who's saying something factually correct, Ali?
No, that's what I'm asking you. I'm saying, how do you reply? What do you tell these people?
Ali is not saying anything. He's just putting the question.
My reply is you're 100% right.
Yeah. No, I am not defending Obama's foreign policy. I have huge problems with Obama's foreign policy. So that's not what I'm defending at all.
Are those the only two choices, do you think? Like, do we have, you either have a freaking dictator or do you have like Islamic theocracy?
Let's shift the blame 100% to the Egyptian army that has nothing to do with Islam. The military made the ultimatum that it's either us or the Islamists. The whole system. I can talk about like 4 hours about the history of Egypt. The whole system since after Sadat died, it's either us or these guys killing you in the street and doing female genital mutilation and who do you choose? Anyone who wants to be a third party would be accused directly whenever he's anti-military to be an Islamist, whenever he's anti-Islam to be pro-military and something called like tatbil, what is it called in English? Like kissing the ass of the military. Basically. So the ultimatum is made and funded and wanted by the Egyptian military so that they would stay in power. It's either us or the other guy.
Is it kind of like when Assad freed the ISIS people so that it basically tells people it's either me or the ISIS? Yeah.
Bashar is exactly doing the same thing. It's either me or ISIS, who do you want? And the correct moral answer is Bashar al-Assad.
Well, they're smart though. It works for both of them.
Seriously, it works for both of them, but I will be forced in the position of being pro-military and pro-Bashar. I'm not actually like, oh no, you're not gonna use this ultimatum on me. I'm gonna choose a third option. There is no third option. They made sure that there is not no search option.
It sounds a lot like Pakistan, actually. This is one place where Pakistan and Egypt are very similar.
It sounds more like a lot of Arab and Islamic nations.
Yeah, like in Pakistan, the army, every time they have a civilian government, it gets dissolved. The army basically comes in, takes over. That's been happening over and over for 70 years. And people like the military better. They're like, when the military's here, at least we have stability.
Guys, people here like the military better. If you gonna do fair elections right now, everyone will choose Sisi. That has nothing to do with them loving Sisi. It just has to do military. We need you. They're gonna kill us.
So what's the solution?
The threat is real.
What's the solution?
You want the solution? Okay, the solution.
So it's not democracy, you're saying?
The solution? No. It's how do you define democracy? If I just said,
okay, no, tell us what's the solution?
Of Egyptians, who are you gonna choose? They're gonna choose Sisi. That's.
He was just about to give us the solution.
Okay. Armin is loving the solution. Me and Armin are on the same wavelengths, guys. Me and Armin
not the final solution. Okay.
By the way, Armin, when you were talking about the Shah and the Iranian Revolution, I just need to tell you this. The Shah is buried right here next to me.
Yeah, I know.
I smoked a cigarette over his grave.
This is why when they killed. This is why when they killed the guy that gave Shah asylum, what was his name? You know, in Iran. Yeah, exactly. They named the street after his killer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Revolutionary Guard would love the fact that I'm smoking a cigarette on top of the
So wait, so go ahead.
I killed Pharaoh. That's what he said when he killed him, right?
Yes, I know. Yeah. Oh, trust me, I know.
Yeah.
My family was there. Guys, okay, let's go back to the solution. There's a trick that the military or any dictatorship in the Middle East uses by accusing all their enemies as the Islamic group they're against. You will find Bashar calling FSA or anything else ISIS. You will find Sisi calling anyone Ikhwan, meaning Muslim Brotherhood, even if they're ISIS. That's the trick. Call them Ikhwan. Call everyone against you Muslim Brotherhood. And these people, this majority of people have seen the Muslim Brotherhood in front of their eyes and they know how terrible they are. If all my enemies are Muslim Brotherhood, everyone will choose me and it works. Now, and by the way, when I said even ISIS, that's Egyptian state media. Egyptian state media will call ISIS in Sinai, which were Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis, then they basically ex-Hamas. They have a long story. But they call them Muslim Brotherhood. By the way, guys, the Muslim Brotherhood is a totally different animal than Al-Qaeda and Ansar al-Sharia or Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis or whatever you're going to call it. They play politics. They want to lie to the West to make the West on their side. There is actual, like, in the books that Hassan al-Banna wrote and Sayyid Qutb wrote, which is the two main thinkers that created the Muslim Brotherhood. There's a lot of ways that the end justifies the means, even if you do something haram that's not jihadist. They will always lie. Any Muslim Brotherhood who's gonna do a terrorist attack, he will leave the Muslim Brotherhood first, so that when he's get caught, it's not the Muslim Brotherhood. Like, we have audio recordings of any Muslim Brotherhood member getting his ID in the Ikhwan, in the Muslim Brotherhood, revoked, so that
they want to show that democracy will work for Islam. That's what they want to show.
Yeah. I'm saying when it comes to Tanzim al-Dawla, when it comes to Daesh, when it comes to ISIS. And by the way, ISIS is the wrong acronym. It's supposed to be ISIL.
ISIL, yes.
Sorry.
ISIL? Obama's right about that?
Yeah.
Right about that.
Yeah. الدولة الإسلامية في العراق والشام, not في العراق
and Levant, right? The Levant.
Yeah.
Levant, yes.
Yeah. Sykes
So we have no idea what ISIS means.
Anyways, Daesh is fine. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Daesh wouldn't care about politics, wouldn't care about borders. Like, they made a whole video about Cyprus people, let's get rid of borders.
Yeah.
The Muslim Brotherhood wants Egypt to be Islamic, wants Syria to be Islamic. They actually, and in the literature of the Muslim Brotherhood, the way to the way they talk about the West is totally different from Daesh and Al-Qaeda, because they think of the West as people who Allah have سخر لنا. What is سخر لنا in English?
Gave us guidance.
Yeah, gave us those idiots in the West. They're talking about liberals, of course.
For science
so
and
that we can use by the for science and technology, and so that we can use by playing the victim cards. Like, anything you hear from the regressive left now is originated by an idea from the Muslim Brotherhood right here.
Like the term
The whole plan.
So you're saying organizations like CARE are basically puppets of the
hell yeah.
CARE is 100% Muslim Brotherhood, but they have no power in America like they do in Western Europe. Western Europe is fucked, not America. Actually, if you want to, like.
So basically, you're saying CARE is a terrorist organization. You're saying
no. Terrorist organization to who? To Americans or to us?
No, because Muslim Brotherhood just recently got didn't they just got accepted as in a classification?
Ted Cruz made a proposal to Congress to classify Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization, and it failed. They were not classified.
But I heard recently they were.
No. You're bullshitting, Armin. Omar, I have a question. For you, Omar. What do you think of Sisi's speech? تجديد الخطاب الديني, the one about
تجديد الخطاب الديني.
Changing the conversation about religion. He gave a speech in Al-Azhar. What do you think about that?
First, tell us a little bit about the speech, if you don't mind summarizing it first.
If anyone would
just
hear
for
that
our
speech,
viewers,
he would think that Sisi is an atheist talking to the Azhar. He basically said, you can't really believe that we have to kill everyone else and this religion is the only right religion. You can't really believe that. Like, he's saying stuff like the guys at Al-Azhar were forced to clap their hands red, but everyone was like, holy shit, how can he say that on TV? Like, he's basically like have crossed the lines when it comes to Islam. There's the whole new
Can I just ask one small question? Sure, he's from a Sufi background, right?
I was right, guys.
No.
Trump is designated.
I'm sorry, what was that, Ahmad?
I was right.
No, he's not. He kind of comes from a Sufi background, yes, but he's not really a Sufi. He's not really that religious to begin with. My problems with the Sisi has nothing to do with Islam, seriously. I can go against the Sisi for long while. It has to do with Saudi Arabia. It's a totally complicated situation since
Guy, I was right. Trump is moving forward with making Muslim Brotherhood as designated as a terrorist organization.
Congress is getting it passed. Well, Congress won't let it go through.
Okay.
Congress didn't get it through.
Neither the Republicans.
That's why in Egyptians
want that to happen.
But please continue about the CC-10, because that has been covered a lot by the U.S. media about like changing the conversation about religion. Can you? I think it's yes. Okay. Can you tell us more about that? Yes.
What I'm gonna say now will make you love El-Sisi. You have no idea. Now, first of all, he kicked Al-Azhar's ass on so many levels, and Al-Azhar is so powerful. If you're gonna say, is Egypt a secular dictatorship? It will never be secular as long as Al-Azhar and something else called Wizrat al-Awqaf exists. Those institutions are so powerful. They have a lot of money, and they fund all the mosques and do, like, they have connections even to the law, like to al-Qada, like in like judges and stuff. Okay, so that's like my main enemy, Al-Azhar. So Sisi is kicking some Azhar ass because people keep coming from Al-Azhar being terrorists and being anti-Sisi and blowing themselves up on checkpoints on his army. So he said, like, we have to change our religion, this can be true, and Al-Azhar was forced to clap. And during that conversation, a lot of new faces have appeared to be against Al-Azhar. The most famous one is Islam al-Bahiri. To explain Islam al-Bahiri, he is one of the reformers. Well, he basically is an atheist, but he wouldn't say it. Sorry, Islam. He's one of the ones saying, guys, let's forget about the hadith. Sahih al-Bukhari is nonsense. Let's just focus on the Quran and stuff. Okay?
That's like Imam Tawhidi says that too.
Yeah, like Imam Tawhidi. Al-Azhar, and of course, Islam al-Bahiri is attacking Al-Azhar. Al-Azhar got him in prison. Another long story. Well, out of nowhere, El-Sisi gave a total pardon to Islam al-Bahiri.
Oh.
To get him out of prison.
Why?
Against okay, because he's in a control power between him and Al-Azhar now. Like, they control the minds of the people the most. It's so weird to say right now. And okay, guys, can I have a minute, because a friend of mine, I have to do something. I'm so sorry.
Okay,
1
good.
minute.
Yeah, no problem. I need to get a jacket because I'm cold and I didn't want to stop.
All right.
Okay, let's.
Well, he's away. Can I clarify something? And I think you both know about this. So, the founder of Muslim Brotherhood is Al-Banna, right? And he was influenced by Qutb's milestones, correct?
Well, I mean, Hassan al-Banna and Sayyid Qutb are both considered the founders of the Brotherhood by some people.
Okay, so even okay. So and Milestones, which was written by Qutb, is basically the book that you read to go to as your entry to the terrorist school, right? Like, that's basically terrorism 101. Like, that's how it started. This whole ideology of,
well, it's Islamism. It's Islamism. He's the founder of Sunni Islamism.
Well, no, it's anti-Westernism. That's what it is, right? Like, you know, in Iran, we had this book called Gharb Zadegi, which was the fire that started the anti-West movement in Iran. And I think the book that made the Sunni world anti-West was Milestones. Like, I mean, there were always some anti-Western feelings there, but this was the major ideological movement against the West. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, there are so many books written on the Brotherhood. I mean, it's a very complicated party.
Extremely complicated, and their books are actually intelligent and like have a pragmatism and logic behind them.
Would you say Milestone was the main? Would you say Milestones by Qutb was the main book that started this shit?
No, Hassan al-Banna.
Banna came
in
out
Ismailia in Egypt.
But without Qutb, would there be a Banna? I mean, without the Milestone.
No, actually, Banna was first.
Wait, what?
So Banna was first. So Banna and Sayyid
Qutb. Banna's the grandfather. Banna's Tariq Ramadan's grandfather.
Okay.
Okay, Banna is the first guy who started the whole thing. Sayyid Qutb made some pragmatic like arguments that got the Muslim Brotherhood to where they are today, and their total control, like, on the minds of bleeding heart liberals in the West.
Wait, which one was the one that came to the West and saw the girls dancing?
That's Sayyid Qutb. Sayyid Qutb is an expert on the West, not Hassan al-Banna.
Yeah.
But is Sayyid Qutb considered the founder of the Brotherhood, or just an influencer?
No, influencer. The founder is
founder Hassan al-Banna, I see, okay.
In 1923, in Ismailia in Egypt.
Yeah. Yes.
And the Muslim Brotherhood, by the way, if you're gonna like talk about how they think, there's they have a way of, like, okay, the priority is to the Brotherhood. الأولوية للجماعة مش للفرد. The priority is to the Brotherhood, not the individual. Okay, in that way of thinking, they can lose guys, they can get guys killed in their own process as a good thing. That's weird. That's specific to the Brotherhood, meaning, like, the Muslim Brotherhood would benefit if their own supporters die in a protest for the Muslim Brotherhood.
What?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Why?
Okay, that's what, because they can use that as a card to the West as abuses of human rights. They want their own followers to die.
Oh, it's
they
like
say that in their books. I have a book right here in my other room.
No, that's Hamas. That's classic. That's what Hamas does.
Yeah, it's Hamas.
Everybody denies that there's no human
Muslim Brotherhood.
I thought that was a Shia thing to have.
The book you're talking about, is that in the 100-year project? Is that what's written there?
No, it's not the 100-year project. It's the guy. I will link it in the Twitter. I have to.
It's weird that they're so open about it, though.
They're very open about the 100-year project too, and we're following it step by step.
Guys, they're open about it in Arabic, not in English. They have a thing. We can say these things in Arabic, not in English. I'm not even kidding.
I gotta say,
if you talk to Muslim Brotherhood members, they would say, "Oh, the idiot liberals in America. We can tell them this. But in English, human rights.
Do they actually say that in that? Like, do they actually say like, oh, these liberals
Actually,
in the West
the
were
idiot liberals, yes, everyone say that. Like, you think the Muslim Brotherhood and us think of like liberals the same way? Those idiots. Like, it's
Useful
common between
idiots.
like,
The useful idiots.
useful idiots and harmful idiots. So
they're
I call them well-intentioned idiots.
You're saying that they're laughing that the left believes what they're saying. That's what you're saying. Like, actually, they're saying
Yeah,
like
of
they actually
course.
believe it. Okay, all right.
This is where
Dude, I
actually,
would send you.
do you guys know
videos
Memory
in Arabic.
TV? You know Memory, Armin, you know Memory TV, MEMRI? Like they
Yeah.
actually,
Memory translates. Memory is the only organization that translates.
yeah, they actually take these videos and they bring the, like, for example, with Hamas in the last Gaza war, people were saying, oh, you know, it's terrible to say that Hamas uses their own kids as human shields, but there are videos of them saying to bring your kids, everybody come up to the rooftops because that will prevent the Israelis from bombing you. They use children. They bomb out of hospitals.
Like,
They bomb
like,
out of
oh,
schools.
our enemy is so evil, but they're better than us because they won't kill children. Like, what the fuck?
Well, that's the amazing assumption. Like that. That's
It's
what,
insane. Yes.
Like,
that
how
actually
could you
tells
not?
you a lot
How
about
could you?
the moral.
You know how that comedy sketch goes? Like, aren't we the baddies? Like, I think when you put your children on rooftops for your enemy not to kill you, you have to ask yourself, are we not the bad guys in this?
You know what,
But this is
Armin?
real.
My
There's
mom
video
had
of
this.
them
My mom
saying
had
that.
this thing that she used to say, where she would say, "The stupid Christians say turn the other cheek, so it's easier for us to chop off their heads."
Yeah.
They don't
Exactly.
think of these things like not killing children and all that stuff. They don't think of these as virtues or positive
mom said
values.
that.
By the way, yes.
They
Your
think of
mom-
it as stupidity. They think,
Like,
yeah,
you guys are naive and they're stupid and
exactly.
they use that. They actually use and the thing.
This must be a funny thing, man. You guys are so.
But I have to admit,
The
guys,
interesting is
I have to admit
it
something.
assumes
This
it
is
assumes
common
that morally
among
the other side's
Egyptians.
better.
Because Shias are like victims too. Like Sunnis are like, yeah, we're fucking powerful. Shias are like, look at us.
Anyway, Armin, they both suck. Ahmad, what were you saying?
I was saying the view of liberals is common. Actually, there's a lot of Egyptian atheists, like the well-intentioned idiots, the idiots that will ruin our plans, the idiots. The liberals are called a swear word in Arabic that I don't even know how to translate. معرسين. Like, what's معرسين in English? What is arse in English?
How do you say that one, Faisal? I don't even
How do
know.
you say that one, Faisal?
It's like
Bastards.
it kind of it's used for
Kind
it's
of.
used for gay too, though. Like just because
Yeah.
It's used for gay. It's used as a lying hypocrite, but an idiot. It's used for a lot of stuff.
yeah,
But,
just something as low
there
as
is
you
no
can
law.
imagine.
Yeah, as low as you can imagine. But that's actually common. Like, I know conversation between Muslim Brotherhood members and seculars who agree about liberals, but they're using it for totally different. Liberals are just a weapon that we use against each other, but they have no like agency. They're idiots, of course. They trust me, guys. I've talked to American liberals a lot, and I've totally failed every single time except once. A couple that came to my apartment through couchsurfing. Okay, they were not American. One was American, she was Australian. But other than that, every single time I had a conversation with American liberals, I am totally convinced that they're well-intentioned. But I am totally convinced and I have no idea what's going on in the Middle East. The amount of misinformation they have is insane. I would take 7-8 hours just to correctly explain Syria. Like, already the white helmets have reached Netflix and HBO. It's insane. The misinformation in corporate media, and guys, trust me, I'm not criticizing you about this, but trust me, the things you read even from news sources like you guys share, you have no idea how it's different over here. And basically people over here gave up on the idea of like
What?
even
Sorry,
translating
people
things
gave
in
up.
English, because
I'm
gave
sorry,
up on
your voice
trying
cut.
to,
Okay.
sorry, I will say again, like everything said about the Middle East in English comes directly from Qatar. And I'm not talking about Al Jazeera. I am talking about every single site you will find in English. Middle East Eye, Middle East something, Middle East, Middle East, Middle East. All of those are for specific reasons.
Middle East Eye is well known to be a Muslim Brotherhood funded organization.
Okay, good. That's progress. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I know about this. I know about this because many of my friends in the counter-extremism world know the Middle East Eye to be a very pro-Islamist and a very pro-Brotherhood biased news media.
So Saudi Arabia is right.
Roman rights for. So
you're saying Saudi Arabia was correct to be pissed off with Qatar?
Oh no,
that's a different issue.
That issue totally.
That question shows how complicated it is.
Oh,
I know. But the thing is, like,
by the way, that's my whole point. Things in the Middle East are complicated, extremely complicated. I will never even try to explain them correctly, even on this podcast. But let's take two extremes, right? Let's take Abby, what's her name, and Joe Rogan. That's it's extreme liberal. It's all America's foreign policy fault. Islam has nothing to do with it. And let's take Sam Harris saying, no, it's Islam. Actually, Islam is doing this. My position is some things happen in the Middle East between countries that are complicated and has nothing to do with Islam. You don't have to make this centered opinion about what does Islam got to do with the Qatar and Saudi Arabia conflict. Nothing. What does our kissing Saudi Arabia's ass got to do with Islam? Nothing. It has to do with Yemen, and so on and so on and so on. It's so.
But it's neither nothing or everything. It's nothing. It's neither. Yeah.
I know, you would think that I'm not on your side because I'm saying.
No. I'm not saying. Maybe I don't know. Qatar and Saudi Arabia, you're right. That's probably mostly financial stuff. But Iran and Saudi Arabia. Maybe they're
no. Iran and Saudi Arabia is 100% Cold War between Sunni and Shiites. I know. I'm saying there's other stuff going on.
But give an example to illustrate Omar's point, Armin. So one of the examples is that when in Pakistan, when they banned YouTube for 2 years after that movie Innocence of Muslims, because of Benghazi thing, when that came out, they banned YouTube for 2 years in Pakistan because they said that this is blasphemous. Now the problem is the reason they did it is because they wanted to shut down political dissenters from accessing the media.
What he's saying, well, even in the example that you're giving, they're using some religious context. But what he's saying, there are some things
happening that no one knows.
I'm trying to.
I'm just saying there are also some things that happen that there's some shit that happens that have nothing to do with it.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. Let me just finish that example.
Okay.
So they said that it was because of blasphemy, but it was actually to shut down the opposition party from going up against the government. So what happened is that if they told the people that, oh no, we're trying to shut down political opposition, the people would rise up against the government. But when they tell the people, oh, it's because of blasphemy, then suddenly you have all the people on your side when what you were trying to do has nothing to do with Islam.
But in the example that you're giving, even though the intention was not Islam was used. But I'm just saying there are also examples that has even less to that there are fucked up shit that have even less to do with Islam than that. But that doesn't mean that Islam doesn't cause fucked up shit, which it does. But let's not just put everything under the same umbrella.
I have a question. I have a question for Omar. Don't you think?
Finish his thought before we moved on. And
there's a lot of thoughts. I have no idea. I know.
It is related to what you're saying about that when the Muslim Brotherhood uses human shield and Hamas does it. But don't you think that they are winning over there? I mean, the more of them get killed. For example, the conflict of Hamas and Israel. So, for example, many of the arguments being used. Look, there are 5,000 Palestinians killed. 50 Israelis killed means but Hamas was the oppressed here because more people were killed by Hamas.
Dude,
or the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is oppressed. Therefore, the Muslim Brotherhood are the good guys.
Yeah, Omar, go ahead.
The argument actually wins. That's why it's genius. When I'm forced to defend Muslim Brotherhood supporters in Rabaa before Sisi kills them all, that means the Muslim Brotherhood plan actually works. I am against what happened in Rabaa, and I need to explain it. But this argument of these innocent, non-armed people got killed actually works, and it makes sense. Genius plan.
So that they get more and more sympathizers as time passes by for using.
For good reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and make people like you, who is very anti-brotherhood, to be sympathetic to them. So imagine how about a liberal Westerner who doesn't know anything about the region?
Exactly. Like,
that's exactly the issue. Yeah.
Wow, that's a very good way of Faisal. You phrase it very well. Like if somebody that knows so much shit about Brotherhood, like
exactly,
make you sympathize.
Yeah, if he is forced to take the position, then what hope there is for people sitting here in the
no
West?
No hope whatsoever. I've seen with my own eyes Muslim Brotherhood members dressing children in white robes so that they would be martyrs. They want them to die in Rabaa Square, exactly as planned, and I'm still against children getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
It's
so for the Brotherhood
situation.
For the Brotherhood is win-win-win situation, no matter how you spin it, right? Like if they win the elections, they win. If they get killed, they win. If they don't get killed, they win. It's like their strategy is like they're tired of winning, I assume.
They're parasitizing off the goodness of other people.
That's my whole point about the Muslim Brotherhood is a totally different animal than Al-Qaeda and Daesh. Daesh would say stupid shit and do stupid shit against their own well-being in Syria and Iraq. Muslim Brotherhood have a pragmatic working plan. The only way was an entire nation population, 99%, to go against them with the army, with the police, with everything against them just to get rid of them. Like it was almost impossible. It took a whole year with all the population and all the institution against them, and we still couldn't get rid of them because of Obama. Like it's, I know how they.
Shut up your mouth, Obama. Shut up your mouth,
Obama. And
what would you do if you were Obama?
Do you think it would have been different if it was?
I wouldn't support the Muslim Brotherhood. What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I wouldn't get included. Okay, guys, we're jumping around, so I need to.
So much jumping.
There's so many topics, that's why we have to.
I know. I will come again, guys. I will come again.
So yeah, we might have to have a second part.
So I'm gonna state my actual position about American foreign policy. American foreign policy is not, first of all, I'm not convinced that America is the bad guys. I consider them the good guys, and so on. I'm not like let's blame American foreign policy. But my problem is anything position you have against a state, not a non-state actor, will by definition cause you more harm than good because the people of that state are nationalists. Meaning, just think about anything America done in the Middle East. If it's against a non-state actor, you would see good results. If it's against a state, you would see terrible, catastrophic results. If they're against Egypt, if they're against Libya, if they're against Iraq, against Syria, that would be terrible. If they're against ISIS, against the Muslim Brotherhood, against some group, probably it would be like the best thing Obama ever did was that mountain that saved the Yazidis. I will admit that every single time. But the thing that happened...
Can you say that again?
There was Yazidis stuck on top of the mountain, and Obama came with air support that totally destroyed ISIS at the bottom of the mountain.
Right.
Obama. But here's the problem. Okay, here's the problem. There's how can I say this? Okay, like you guys don't understand how much the effect of a US president, whoever he is, being against a state to the population of that state. Mm-hmm. Like there was only one time when me and other Egyptians were saying maybe we shouldn't get rid of Mubarak after all during the revolution. Guess which time that is? It's when Obama said Mubarak must go. Like seriously, people over here are so against American intervention to the point that America will never understand every single time.
This is
America,
the same
like
in
the
Iran.
best thing. Exactly.
Well, that's why they held off in Iran in 2009, the revolution.
Yes.
Obama didn't say anything because he knew if he said something, then everybody, all the protesters in Iran would suddenly side with against Obama.
That's why the Pashtun love the sanctions, because it unites the country against the West.
Right.
Sanctions is a terrible idea as a collective punishment against a whole people of a nation because of one dictator who will never get touched by sanctions is immoral. Don't get me started on sanctions because we suffered from it here and it's fucking terrible. And thank God Trump removed anything that stops AIDS. Thank you.
Wow.
Okay. Anyways, sorry.
All right, we're going to 1 hour, and Faisal is suggesting that we need to end on a good note. So can you talk about a little bit of the rise of the atheism and secular movements, and maybe some consulates? I don't know. In Egypt, if you want to talk about that,
There's an atheist public consulate that is awesome here in Cairo, and people are meeting. They're choosing the cheapest places because nobody has money, but that's okay. Everything is fine, and there's a lot of hope. Actually, there's a lot of people starting to change their mind slightly. You can see the roots of critical thinking and people saying, maybe I'm a deist, maybe just Allah exists and this hadith thing is wrong. Like you're having soft changes one step at a time. And the only problem, the non-changing is sexism. It's just we won't have any progress against female genital mutilation and rape in marriages and anything else. Women are still fucked. And by the way, just to be clear, when I'm talking about social and cultural progress, I'm talking about Cairo and Alexandria alone. Any place in Upper Egypt has nothing to do with this. There is zero progress in what's called El Said.
That's not a very positive note.
No, what is
positive? Let's hear true.
Well, we're not
saying true. We would care about what's true.
I know. I'm just saying this is very sad. This is shit.
Ahmed, what can the secular liberal people in the West that support you and believe in the same values that you have?
Stop being afraid of getting accused of Islamophobia.
Yeah. So what are we doing wrong, and what can we do better?
Good question.
Please talk to us about that.
The whole thing about the regressive left, I blame more the people afraid from the regressive left more than the regressive left. The idea that you are afraid that someone would call you an Islamophobe on Twitter is insane to me. It has no meaning. And I don't know even why you call the regressive left as this enemy. They should be idiots, well-intentioned idiots that should be ignored. They have the regressive left didn't change laws, didn't change the First Amendment. You still have free speech. The idea that you're afraid to say something because some character assassination and the liberal feminist blogs will say this about me is totally insane. I don't know why you even bother. And by the way, you guys, when you started talking on the 3rd or 4th episode, what we should do about this actual racist and Trump supporters in our comments loving us. Nothing. You should do nothing. As long as your point is factual and accurate, this thing about, but it overlaps with some actual bad guys is a nonsense. Like if we were in, I don't know, 1945 and the Soviet army is raping women in Berlin, okay? So if you're gonna stand up against rape, you will literally have literal Nazis on your side. Okay, should that stop you from standing up against rape of women in Berlin? No, the whole idea of, but we shouldn't be associated with the alt-right. But the alt-right says this. But this whole conversation, while you have actual moral good points that supports human rights, is insane to me. And the regressive left should be just sort of well-intentioned idiots. And by the way, calling them an enemy is giving them more credit than they deserve. We just meme about them and make jokes about them.
I could talk to you about that later because we lose credibility if we have them on our side. That's the problem.
Yeah, and you can speak against both people. You can fight against rape and then fight against Nazis at the same time as well.
No, I think what he's saying is that we shouldn't be afraid.
That's not my activism. That's not my activism. I have nothing to do. That's the exact same point of what was I saying with my argument with American liberals. They totally changed the topic suddenly without any thing I said. They were focused about racism. Out of nowhere, it's all about racism. And by the way, guys, suddenly I'm brown. I have no idea what the brown means and what does that imply. But for some reason, like I have never thought about racism my entire life until I started talking about two Americans, and suddenly I discovered that I'm brown. Oh shit!
Yeah, I thought I was white until I came to Canada.
Yeah.
I have no idea about any conversation about racism. Trust me, guys. When I first knew about America when I was young on internet dial-up, I literally thought there was a white religion and a black religion. That's the only way my brain would comprehend that there are people who would characterize and prejudge people on the color of their skin. I had no idea something as stupid as racism. This is my problem with racism, seriously. And of course, when I say racism, I include soft bigotry of low expectations. My problem with racism is not just it's disgusting and immoral. It's extremely stupid, meaning it's non-factual. Like bigotry between religions, if those religions were true, actually makes sense. If you guys are saying this against Omar ibn Khattab, and you guys are saying we will go in hell, ideological fight between those two people to hate terrible. Of course, it's cost lives. Sectarian violence, I'm totally against. But I'm saying this whole thing that the color of someone's skin has anything to do with anything from both sides. That's my point.
Yeah.
The American brain is 100% consumed by race to the point that any conversation is just thrown out of the window. And it's not just like, okay, I need 5 minutes more, you guys, please.
No, take your time, Ahmad. Don't feel pressured.
Yeah. Go for it.
I had this conversation with 3 liberal Americans. They were tourists, and I was gonna like help them out, pyramids and stuff, as usual. And after I've like, okay, they of course, when I criticized Obama, they played the first black president, they entered racism into it, and I have no idea what racism is. First black president. Oh no. Okay. Anyways, so I made this entire rant, or even better, that I made to you on how racism and saying the color of someone's skin is irrelevant in any way to judge a character. Mm-hmm. And after I made that entire rant for 10 minutes, their reply to me, yes, white people are terrible.
Oh my God.
White people have done terrible. Holy fucking shit, what did I just say? I had a gut feeling reaction that shit, all white people, holy shit, that's wrong. And to explain even the hypocrisy, and they started talking about Black Lives Matter, Ferguson, and of course, as if I would somehow be associated with some police officer, like, and I've been against identity politics so much to the point that even the things you guys were saying, well, identity politics must work in the cases of if you're black against the police, if you're a Jew during the Holocaust. No, my whole point is that any identity should be lost for the sake of
except the human identity.
Except the human identity. That's the only thing. So the fight started between me and the 3 American liberals, of course, and they really insulted me in a way. That's why that I started the fight to begin with. They totally remove your agency as a human being by like, I had fight with actual racist conservatives before, and it's always like, I do gaming, and in gaming, trust me, there's a lot of racists, and it's always like, well, fuck the Middle East, blow it up, and fuck you, you redneck. And it's actually, I still have agency, by the way, but when with soft bigotry of low expectations,
it's insulting.
You don't exist as a human being. Mm-hmm. You would never have an actual, like, you know what they told you?
Yes.
You're a panda in a zoo, like, oh, you cute little Egyptian, Arab, Oriental is so great. And they say, like, when they do romance, of course, so every culture, they're more relative, so our culture must be better. By the way, I'm a racist when it comes to Western values. Like, if those assholes in Sharpsville were, instead of saying white, they were saying Western values, I'm fine. The problem is the word white and black in the matter.
Wait. So, say this about Charlottesville, Western values. I didn't. You need to clarify that point for me.
I need to clarify because I'm accused as racist or something. What I'm saying is, when people talk about let's preserve our Western values, I'm 100% against it.
against it.
When they talk, let's preserve. Sorry,
Okay.
Okay. I've been awake for 40 hours.
That's a significant difference.
I am someone in the East saying the West is the best.
Yes.
Totally, Western values are superior. I'm a Western values.
The Western values are not Western. They're just human values.
Exactly.
Well, they're only being
Western
implemented in the West. They're
Yes.
called Western values because they're
But they
only
should-
being implemented in the West.
I completely agree with you, yes, but and what I'm saying is that they should belong to the world.
Correct.
These are
Yeah.
values that are humanist values, and
Universal.
and then the West doesn't own these values. Everybody, these are values that every woman, gay person, minority should be able to enjoy. And
That's
people
right.
that,
How the hell should I talk about them when they're literally called Western values?
yeah, so
They
let's
made it.
Well, this is a problem. It's a problem that they're called Western values sometimes, because what happens is that
humanist values.
when you start talking about if you start talking about free speech to somebody in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, then they're like, "Oh, you're Western. You know, you've sold out to the
But
West."
that's just ignorance, though.
Yeah.
It is ignorance, but the thing is, that's why I think Armin's right. Instead of calling this Western values, we should talk about.
I
But
guess
no.
that
I
is all the time, but again,
I have to
no,
say something.
No.
Let me say something. These
Yeah.
people have died, blood, sweat, and tears in order to make their countries have these values. And we're going to take that away from them because we don't like the color.
No. We're not taking
Wait.
it away.
It's called Western values because they're the ones that are implementing these values. We kill people that want to implement these values
And the ones
over on the other side of the world. So now that they've done all the blood, sweat, and tears, and they've implemented these values, and we're coming along and saying, yeah, but you know what? You don't even get to name it. We don't even get to call it Western values.
No.
Actually,
We should call it Western values. I'm not
and
saying.
we shouldn't be apologetic that we're calling it
No, we
Western
shouldn't.
values.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
I
that
get
when we
all the
talk
time.
about this to people who are living in that part of the world, the moment you say Western values, it's like saying Obama saying that, oh, Mubarak should go. The moment you say that, you use that terminology.
No, that's not what happens.
You know,
That's not what happens.
the woman,
There's a whole difference. Ali, you're wrong. Ali, that's not
Yeah.
what's going on here. Trust me. People here love Western values, hate American interventionists and American foreign policies. There is a total difference in that.
actually, yeah.
Human beings, but they hate American interventions. That's not as the things you said when Obama says something, what should happen, what should we do, is totally different. In fact, when Obama says something, it's another level of of expectations of what we actually want, by the way.
Yeah, but the example is like.
But how about kushari? Do you guys still like kushari?
Dude, the only thing I've eaten over the last 3 days is still kushari. Kushari is awesome. I got it from Kushari Hamada, and you guys eat some
guys-
kushari in your life.
To just mention, because Faisal said we have to end on a good note, I just want to mention that this podcast, you said that you think that you're speaking to a Western audience. I want to let you know that this podcast is downloaded a lot in Egypt, a lot in Saudi Arabia, a lot in Pakistan.
Trust me, I've had a hand in that.
So,
Thank you, Ahmad.
you.
Shukran, habibi.
Thank you so much.
In fact, thank you guys for the opportunity, and I wish I just could talk to you more because there's
Oh wait,
not
actually,
that
don't hang up yet. There was a point here that you said to me about miscommunication between atheists over here and atheists in the West. Did we touch on that?
That's a tragedy. That's a tragedy of the atheists over here. Totally got disconnected from Westerns because of the identity politics and multiculturalism, and every postmodernist idea have struck in the left. The people who are supposed to be on our sides say stuff that they totally piss people off here. And the people here, if you're gonna look at their Facebook or look at their things, they're always either with your kind of community, which is the Dave Rubin, Sargon of Akkad, everything that's in the middle, or the right wing. People over here, secularists, love America's right wing. Really, you have no idea. Even in Egyptian TV, love for Ted Cruz, love for Trump, love for everything, just because what the left is doing.
Okay,
and
we need to
problem
give them a
is-
better option than Ted Cruz, seriously.
there is,
So,
trust me. You know why the love of Ted Cruz, of course, right? Because he was the one who proposed to Congress to make the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's more complicated.
in Iraq, for
It's more
example,
complicated than that.
Iraq, many Kurds in Iraq love the Republican Party. They hate the Democrats because Obama just withdrew out of Iraq and left Iraqi Kurds in the front of ISIS and dying and killed by ISIS. So for ages,
Exactly.
the Democrats have betrayed the Iraqis.
The Democrats are totally. And I am underestimating if I'm saying they don't like Democrats. They really, really hate Democrats.
I know.
They're called the snakes, the hypocrites, the liars, the guys who play moral authority while they're really killing us. Blah, blah, blah. Even Muslims think here. Muslims think Trump is more honest. Like, it's insane. You have no idea how much people already... Like,
I've actually heard that. I've heard people say that.
Because the view of people over here that America is a businessman concerned about their own well-being. Trump is actually that, therefore he's honest. If Obama comes to here, say "Assalamu alaikum" to people thinking that everything will be fine, everything will think he's a snake, he's lying, he's fucking us in our backs.
All right,
this is major.
My observation's been that they usually hate the party that was last in power, like right after Bush when Obama first came.
No,
everybody.
Okay. That's the problem. Bush and the neocons got love because they did nothing to Egypt and Libya.
But they didn't get love.
Actual difference between countries. There's an actual difference between countries.
No, but also, if you're talking about different countries, Bush
is considered an idiot. Obama is considered evil. I'm not talking, of course, I don't believe this myself. I'm saying the mentality of Egyptians. And Trump is considered honest, believe it or not, which is
This is Egypt. We're talking Egypt, though.
Wait, I have a question. So Obama is considered evil because of his association with the Brotherhood? Is that why?
And saying stuff that totally against what he's actually doing in the Middle East. Like, that pisses people off more than America first. We have nothing to do with the Middle East. We don't want nothing to do with the Middle East.
This is the opposite. It's exactly the opposite. This is exactly the opposite in Iran. Obama was the person that did the nuclear deal with Iran, and then they hate Bush and they hate Trump.
That's my point. The Middle East is extremely complicated, and there is actually different countries in the Middle East, and some countries in the Middle East differ from each other. I'm talking about Egyptians and Libyans. Yeah. Those are the two who were fucked the most by the Obama administration. And
you've been listening to this podcast. How are we doing?
Not good with the kind of people I'm talking about. That's a tragedy I'm talking about. Like,
how can we do better to reach out to?
Let's say the friend I was just with, I was playing the episode with Imam Tawhidi, and Yasmin said out of knowing that relating to cameras in mosques and saying to Imam Tawhidi, but I'm a liberal secularist. There shouldn't be cameras in mosques. And my friend out of nowhere said, "Oh, she's one of those human rights hypocrites." That was the only thing she knows. Like, anybody talking about human rights.
Yasmin, you got to be more Orwellian. More Big Brother. Otherwise, nobody in Egypt will like you.
No. That's
right. If somebody doesn't like us because we advocate for human rights, they better keep hating us, because that's not something that we're gonna.
Armin,
don't think it's good to know.
Everybody stop talking.
Yeah, no, I know.
Everybody stop talking. Everybody stop talking, please.
Okay.
That girl I'm talking about is fighting female genital mutilation in Upper Egypt. She believes in human rights 100%. She's done more things that I ever do, or any of all five of us do in a lifetime. You have no idea how moral she is.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
Just let him finish. Let him finish, please, Faisal.
Yeah. Let him talk.
The problem is there is an association between people saying we have to care about human rights and supporting Islamic groups while we fight them. That association have caused mischief between people who should be on the same side, like my friend and Yasmin. My friend and Yasmin believes 100% of everything. Okay, the thing that like when you say something like the human rights, or Faisal shares something about ISIS members, what the Iraq army is doing to ISIS members right now. My problem, of course, about the Iraq army doing is they have to be actual ISIS members, not supporters who just said to ISIS, yes, of course, تحيا الشريعة, because they're afraid. They have to be actual ISIS members. But once people who have fought ISIS see other people saying, why aren't you treating those like human beings, the human beings too, or like the quote Ali did about jihadists are humans too and not, they totally lose you. I'm not speaking for myself. I'm be truthful about this.
Jihadists
people, when you
No,
there was something shared about Twitter like 2-3 hours ago. It was Ali or Armin.
I shared it.
What was that quote?
I shared it, and it was Ali's quote, and he said, all humans deserve respect, but their books and ideologies don't.
Oh, that human rights, humans have rights and are entitled to respect.
Yeah, so then I said...
That's... Okay, sorry.
No, go on.
No, I know. Okay. I agree with what you're saying, Ahmad. And then I extended that, and I said all human beings, including jihadis and Nazis. That is very difficult for me to say. Yes. Very, very difficult.
I know that's difficult.
I had a very hard day today trying to wrap my head around that.
So
let me just... I understand your friend too. I understand her reaction, and I understand Imam Tawhidi's reaction when he responded to me by saying, "Listen, Yokhti, I was preaching jihad in those mosques, so don't come to me now and tell me human rights don't put the cameras. I know what kind of monsters these people are." And you know what I said when he said that? I said, "Okay," I backed off, because you know what? If it was in an American context, if we were talking about KKK, if we were talking about Nazis, and we talked about putting cameras in front of their temples or wherever the fuck those people go, people would say, yeah, that's a good idea. People would agree with that because they understand that context, but they just don't understand the jihadi context. I do. And so when it is really hard for me to be able to say, I don't think we should have cameras here or there, and I think that we should treat all people with respect. I mean, obviously, even criminals get treated with human dignity here. We have rapists. Rapists, we make sure they have 3 meals a day and they have a warm place to sleep at night. It's not easy for me to say this, right? It's very difficult, and I actually overcame this because I used to be for the death penalty, and I used to be like, yeah, fucking kill them all.
And yes,
right? All the rapists, all the pedophiles. It's hard, but it's a better.
No, go on, you go.
I understand 100% where you're coming from, and if I teleport from middle of Cairo to Montreal or to New York, I would exactly have your position because America is fine. There is a rule of law.
No. Yes was also a victim. Yes, from all of us.
No, but here. He's right. He's right. We are safe.
I'm talking. No. I'm not talking about. Of course, I understand that Yes has been through a lot of shit, even in Canada, and I'm against that, of course. I'm saying that when people are fighting, literally fighting ISIS, and you tell them that I have a friend in the military who have killed 3 people from Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis, which is ISIS in Sinai. 2 of them were unarmed. Tell me if you tell him that since they were unarmed, you shouldn't kill them, and see his reaction. If you've seen that, these people literally crucified 34 Christians in front of his own eyes. Let's this whole idea about like El Arish and Sheikh Zuwaid in the north of Sinai. By the way, you would never hear anything about ISIS in Sinai because our state media prevents anyone from outside to tell you guys about ISIS. Of all the things I've said in this podcast, like I said things against Islam, I said things against the Sisi. That's normal. That wouldn't get me in trouble. But the only thing that would get me in actual trouble with state security listening is me talking about ISIS in Sinai because they're extremely wanting no one to know about them because of tourism.
So why are you talking about them, يا حبيبي? بس خلاص.
But okay, but back to my point. Sorry for keeping jumping around, guys.
It's not your fault.
Actually, this makes it more interesting. Keep jumping around.
Armin, you and me, baby.
I can actually, Omar, what you're saying, I can relate to you a lot because I grew up.
Exactly. You can.
I grew up in the Middle East. I grew up in Iraq. and I came here, and my views have changed to some extent to be more human rights oriented. But I completely understand the feel of betrayal. I completely understand the feel of betrayal of especially secularists in the region, from the United States and from Democrats and liberals in particular, because
especially when we have proof about Islamists using human rights as a weapon against us.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like
but we can't lose our humanity because they're using it against us. No, but I know what you're. Yeah, I agree with you.
Listen, okay, let's take an actual position from Egypt. There is a prison called Torah. That's the same prison that Majid Nawaz was in. Okay, there is two different parts of that prison. One is for Al Qaeda and Daesh, and one is for political prisoners.
That's where my ex was.
Oh yeah, exactly. And he's either dead or will forever spend his life there. Don't worry. I would go up in arms to defend political prisoners who were not even tortured, but I would give no rat's ass about once you join Al Qaeda or you join Daesh, done. Sorry. Like, there is no such. I'm so sorry, that's my position, guys, and I'm a terrible human being for it.
No, you're not. You're not a terrible thing. There's a difference. But here's the thing: there's a difference for what we expect from people that have went through hell, and what we advocate for our government. Okay, if somebody has lost their child, if somebody has been raped, if somebody has lost their mother, and they want fucking all of Al Qaeda to be tortured right in front of them, I'm not gonna be like, oh, human rights, they're humans too. Like, I'm not gonna tell that to a mother, right? She's fucking traumatized. But what I expect from her, when I'm advocating for human rights, I'm not talking to her. I'm talking to our government. What I expect from our government is different from what I expect from people.
That's a good point.
Someone who wants revenge, and I'm against revenge in general. By the way, I am actually wanted the death penalty or something extreme for anyone who supports Daesh or Al Qaeda for pragmatic reasons, because recruitment decreased rapidly once we started doing this. Like during the Morsi days, people were going to Syria in thousands. There's a lot of Egyptians right now in Iraq who joined ISIS. Once the idea of, okay, we drop your nationality, the second you come back to Egypt, you're dead instantly, you're not even Egyptian, we'll not recognize you as a human being, Egypt going to join ISIS. It has a pragmatic effect. This is not just revenge or someone who's seen rape. It actually works. I am sad that it actually works. And as you know, any psychopathic jihadi you've ever heard about has either been tortured in an Egyptian prison or in a Jordanian prison. That's like with the main
stoning people to death also works.
Yeah. No, I'm not advocating for this. Okay, there is something to me about pragmatism in this that I'm not defending as my position. I am saying, if you're gonna, the context of my conversation was why people over here opinion get disconnected from you when you be in a liberal, all humans are liberal position. In that context, you don't understand Egyptians. Like, I'm talking about people who are okay with everybody going to Torah if they're gonna pill. Remember, you know, the things that people misquote and accuse Sam Harris of, because Sam Harris wants to kill people because of their thoughts, just their thoughts. Like, what Sam Harris doesn't say, like what they accuse him of is actual Egyptian government policy. Like, after the two churches in Tanta and Alexandria, there was a plan for a third one, and people were gonna plan for a third one, and all of them were killed because they were planning something in their heads. We're gonna burn Christians, and they got killed. Don't expect people to be on your side if you defend people wanting to burn down Christians.
Yeah.
Well,
it's one of the reasons why I support the drone attacks in Pakistan, which has always been an unpopular position, because what you're doing is you're taking, it's a targeted thing, and what you're doing is you're actually preventing the deaths of many more
and
people.
Over here don't hate drone attacks as much as what liberals say. The only people who are driven to terrorism by the drone attacks are the survivors of the family, like 7 or 8. But that's my point about American foreign policy. If you move against a state, not ISIS in Afghanistan or something, everybody goes against you. Like the headline, America, and that's disastrous. America drones ISIS members in whatever, mother of all bombs, nobody cares. There's a difference because there is, other than religion, some people are extremely nationalistic. Like, I've known Syrians who are supportive of Bashar just to save Syria and they hate the guy. Like, but an asshole Syrian is better than foreign fighters funded by Saudi Arabia and Qatar and America.
No, I mean, that nationalism is its own religion. Like,
I know, but nationalism, if it's against religion, I'm willing to use it.
So speaking,
that's a total conversation.
Well, there's a difference between nationalism and patriotism, right?
Trust me, the guys, the Syrians I know are patriots.
I don't know. I think that you have to be.
Okay,
guys, we have to. Faisal is pointing out that we're going to reach 2 hours, so let's.
Yes, we will.
So
what's your Twitter? I want to.
Let him finish his sentence, ya Jamaa. You never let him finish his sentence before interrupting him.
I'm by the way,
Ahmad, please.
No problem. I'm not, guys. I'm not an atheist activist or a freedom fighter for the whatever. I'm just a guy who's morally obligated to say these things because it actually matters to me. But I am into a lot of old stuff. So when you say like Twitter, you will find memes about Game of Thrones. So don't expect much. But my Twitter is Omar Isam LHC. LHC refers to Large Hadron Collider because I love science and I did work to CERN about particle accelerators.
Don't expect much. Don't dismiss Game of Thrones like that.
There's no. Okay, there's a new episode.
No, I'm not dissing Game of Thrones before. You know, Armin, by the way, Armin, you know why I'm awake? It's not because just of work. I could have slept after work. Because episode 6 has just gone leaked and I saw it before this.
It did. That's what the problem is.
Wait for the good quality shit, man.
It's 1080p.
So, Ahmad, would you leave Egypt if you had the opportunity?
No fucking way. I am 100% against all atheists leaving. The only place that has no hope is Saudi Arabia. If you're an atheist in Saudi Arabia, especially a woman, leave as fast as you. Atheists other than Saudi Arabia, even in Iran, don't leave. Make your place better. And everyone is coming back.
But I heard there is good shawarma. I heard there is good shawarma in Saudi Arabia. Why would anyone leave?
Yeah.
Wait, but I left. Was it a jab at me? I left Iran.
No.
You're a cook.
My reaction to people wanting immigration because people like these guys were taking their best and brightest is no, don't take our best and brightest. I want my best and brightest right here.
To fight, you have to stay and fight, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I want to stay and fight, and I have actual hope. And by the way, guys, people are coming back. Meaning, Europe has gone through a lot of shit. That's why I'm saying Western Europe is worse than America because people who've gone to UK and France are coming back because Cairo are safer for them than London. They can get killed in London for being an ex-Muslim and they're safer here. I'm not even kidding. Guys, I know a girl that returned to Cairo to be safe. She went to the police in the UK. And once they know she's against Muslims and she's an ex-Muslim, they totally didn't even make an investigation. The things I see in UK is insane from the people I know. You have no idea. So someone like Tommy Robinson, I support 100%. If Tommy Robinson disappeared and appeared in the middle of America, I would tell him, dude, relax, come on. But in the UK, it's insane. The Islamists in Western Europe is the next big thing. But Americans listening to this, don't worry about the Muslims. Care would be just annoying. They're not jihadists.
Okay. This was fascinating. I think,
and I didn't say much.
You did a fair. I would say you did a fair assessment because I mean I've talked to many thousands of secularists in the region, and I think you won't be surprised that Omar's view is actually the mainstream view of Arab secularists. Most Arab secularists I know like and support Donald Trump, and you can now understand why.
I don't like him.
No. But I'm saying
Good,
that.
Good thing you clarified that.
They have a more I have seen that Arab secularists have a more sympathetic view of Trump than many Arab Americans or Muslims in America, and there is a reason for that. I think you did a good job. I know you said you don't want to represent anyone, but I think you did a good job.
When I'm talking about the majority of
because
here, I am saying the main point is anti-Hillary, not love for Trump. That's number one. If you wanna guess the mentality of the majority of atheists over here, the video that goes viral is Hillary after Gaddafi got killed. She's saying, we came, we did, he died, ha ha ha, laughing, not grab them by the pussy. Like the video that pisses people off more is this laughing about the fall of an entire state, and ISIS is right next to us right now, and nobody cares about that, and everybody cares about grab them by the pussy. Like, we have more priority to human lives than controversy or Access Hollywood, whatever, sexist, racist, blah, blah, blah. Human lives are number
Actually, you know what, Omar?
This is irrelevant.
Yeah. There was a woman that was killed in Charlottesville, as I'm sure you've heard. Nobody is even talking about her at all.
They're always using and identity politics is ended
it's just
in
an opportunity.
And that's what it's always an opportunity by the media to use this, and why didn't
to hate
Trump
on
didn't
Trump?
accuse
Yes,
both sides?
that's right.
And why this, and why that, and why this, and why that. And by the way, the problem is that when the violence will eventually come from the left, and it already came by Antifa and other groups, it would be justified in the minds because we're fighting Nazis.
Yes.
Makes actual sense.
And
so the right position in Charlottesville, and I'm amazed that Trump didn't fucking do this, is to be extremely pro law enforcement, not pro any. Okay, the side thinks is stupid, and stop the protest right away. I'm a free speech absolutist, except when there is lives lost. Once people died, total complete by the police, everybody go home. There's no such thing as free speech or a protest. People died. I can't believe that people died, and you're talking about what statue of what civil war, what the hell, people died. We've seen people who died. We know this. I know a friend who died during the Muslim Bazaar. And by the way, like this is ending on a good note. Have fun.
We tried many times.
We tried.
This is actually real when you think about your friends that don't exist anymore, and thinking about, okay, that episode of Game of Thrones I've just seen today, he predicted exactly that. No spoilers, no spoilers. He said he read all A Song of Ice and Fire and watched till season 3. But he predicted exactly that. Like, he would never get to finish A Song of Ice and Fire and would never know what happened in Westeros. Like, things like that really gets people in their guts and chest hurt to the point that everything else is irrelevant. My number one priority in any moral argument is preserving human lives, followed by sexism because women are fucked, followed by free speech and everything else, racism, blah, 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 blah. Because the thing about the pragmatist view, I have to stand with these guys right now, even though I don't like them, to preserve human. Like, right now, people are accelerating the identity politics war after Charlottesville, and they're meeting in Boston, right? You know, in my opinion, who's the most moral group is the group who would say, I am not going to Boston. We're not.
I'm not going to what?
I mean, they made a new location to fight Antifa and the white supremacists, or white nationalists. They have an event, okay? So the right thing to do is not to go. Going and protesting and people dying is a bad thing. In any way, even if you're protesting Nazis, I don't care. People died.
What I think people don't realize is that everybody thinks, like, when people talk about Antifa and they say, yeah, but Antifa are fighting the bad guys. What they don't realize is that everybody thinks they're fighting the bad guys. Even Al-Qaeda thinks they're fighting the bad guys, right?
But some people are the bad
guys. Let's leave this topic for another
next live stream, right?
Next live stream.
No. But let me just continue, because this is it's not a good place to cut me off.
Okay.
So what I'm saying that is when it reaches violence, like Ahmad was saying, when it reaches people getting hurt or people dying, that's when you have to take a step back and say, okay, what are we doing? Are we really, is this fighting productive? Are we doing the right thing right now? And obviously what Antifa, even though they have the best of intentions, so liberals, we're talking about the regressive left over and over again and how they have the best of intentions too. But at the end of the day, the result of your actions is really important, not just your intentions.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually don't even think they have the best of intentions, but
okay, good. Let's leave that. Let's leave that.
That's for the next podcast.
Yes, let's leave that. We could talk about that later. But thank you so much, Ahmad. This was
thank you guys for this
so
opportunity,
amazing.
and I wish to come again because there's a lot of, as I've noticed over the last 2 hours, there's a lot of things to explain.
Yeah,
Yes.
I knew this.
And I
knew
didn't
this was
even
gonna
touch
happen.
Syria.
All right.
You didn't even talk Syria, and you didn't even talk to us about the whataboutism, how the Christians are always like, what about the Bible? Or sorry, not the Christians.
We'll do that part two.
The
We're gonna do that part two.
Trust me, even the Christians do. What about Christianity?
We will have you. We will have you back. Okay. So
Okay.
because you're too good not
Thank
to
you
have.
guys
back
so
yet.
much.
Yeah. All right.
And final thoughts, as I said, I'm not with any group. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I don't think liberals are the bad guys. I don't think
Tribeless.
conservatives.
Hashtag tribeless.
Right?
Yasemin.
I think I'm an individual with my own agency. I believe in Omar Isamism. That's it. And without anything else. Thank you so guys
Yeah.
for the
We
opportunity.
believe in Ahmad
And
Islamism too. We're
Thank
believers.
you so much. Thank you so much. No, that's my point. Be individuals, like the scene in Life of Brian. You're
Yeah.
all individuals. Yes, we are
Is
all
Omar
individuals.
Assam different from Omar Assamism? That's my question.
Yeah. Let's talk about Islamism.
I know.
Actually, Omar, go listen to the podcast episode that we just released. It was about this topic.
It was
Okay.
pretty fiery.
And
Yeah.
I was the only one right on that episode. Just
Right.
Yeah.
I agree most with Armin and
Oh.
Yasmin.
Yeah.
And I might like have a beef with Ali about Russia, but that's for a later
That's
conversation.
the only way.
We all are come from very, very different places, which is exactly why this
that's
works.
normal.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
But
What's
Ahmad, I just
your
wanted to
beef
say
with me,
thank you.
Omar? What's your beef with me?
Oh, okay.
My beef
Here we
with
go.
you is
Here we
like,
go.
come on, guys, you could have stood
All right,
still
guys,
in
we could go for another
Seriously?
half an
You
hour.
lost Mosul?
Well, that's a good point. Well, thank you so much, Omar. Hope to see you again. Well, maybe hopefully you're gonna come
Thank
one
you
day
guys.
to the secular conference in London, and we can all meet up over there and have.
I can't leave Egypt.
Oh, you
But
can't leave?
thank you for
But
keeping
I am
the atheism
NSA.
alive in Egypt. Thank you so much for all your support. I know there's a whole community of atheists there that
There's
you're
no
part of.
community. I
and that
did
you
nothing.
support.
I'm just talking to you guys, and just because I need to relay all the information
You're gonna make
from
them
the Middle East as
proud.
much.
I'm gonna
I
talk
wish.
to you about the consulates after this, okay? But
Sure.
more important than everything else, stay safe as much as
I will.
possible,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
I will.
Stay-
I have
Thank you.
safety plans. Don't worry.
All
All
right.
right.
Yeah.
We'll
Great.
talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Bye,
Yeah.
Habibi.
Bye.
Mwah.
حبيبتي.
Bye-bye.
حبيبتي والله.
Bye.
Guys,